just kind of get us off chatting a little bit since this is social self-care today. So we're going to talk all about self-care in general. And today we're going to talk about social self-care specifically. So this is a good way for us to get started. So if you look at the chat, you'll see that there are people who are from everywhere all over the world. I love that. BetterHelp is a global community, and it is one of the largest. It is the largest global mental health provider worldwide for telemental health, and so it's awesome to have people from different places. Awesome. Yes. Hello. So if you've never been here before, that's completely fine. I run these groupinars so they can be something that is a new experience, or it can be something that you can grow in and hopefully get more out of as you come to all the different presentations. So welcome if you're brand new, and if you're here for the millionth time, welcome back. And I just think that it's an awesome community. So a lot of times the people who have come back find value in the chat and in the community. My groupinar is really chat centric. If you're comfortable with that, you have no pressure ever to participate in the chat. Even if I ask a question, you don't have to put anything in the chat if you don't feel comfortable, but it is definitely something that I think enhances this experience if you do, vibe with that and like that. And so sometimes the conversations kind of go in and out, and I just think that's beautiful. So, we just want to keep everything in the realm of self-care, and it can be a really awesome way to communicate with each other. I also do a presentation, so I'm going to go through slides. So some people just like to watch the video, or some people are watching this later because you'll get an email with the link to watch the video of this. And some people like to listen to it while they're working, podcast style. So there's a lot of different people and a lot of different learning styles and ways they absorb information. So I want to communicate with everybody. Awesome. So I'm glad some of you guys have been to some of my self-care video 101 series before. So like I said, this is a series, but this is also meant to be standalone. So you really do not have to come to, if you miss one, I don't want you to feel like I can't come to the next one. They do flow, which I think is interesting and helpful, but they're all standalone. We review all of the basics at every single presentation. So no worries if it's your first time, you haven't missed anything. We'll go back over that. But I would encourage you to keep coming if you find value in that. And also, I know because BetterHelp is such an awesome large community, and there's always people signing up to get help for mental health, which is amazing. Sometimes it can take a minute for people to get connected with their therapists, and so I think groupinars are a wonderful supplement for that. So if you just signed up, hopefully you were lucky enough to get connected, but I think this is an awesome just way to just still feel connected to the platform and the community while you're in that place, if you're in that place. So I have groupinars that I run weekly on Wednesdays at this same time. And then there are other ones kind of spread throughout that you can also go and look at as well. They're all really amazing, and they're all awesome, presenters. Shout out to Joy's groupinar I really like, and she is also on TikTok, where I just posted my TikTok on BetterHelp. So little plug for BetterHelp's TikTok, where you can also find tips and stuff outside of groupinar times. Yeah, they're trying to build that, and a lot of the groupinar presenters are doing little tips and tricks and stuff, and so you can go there and get that information too. All right, a couple of logistics. If you have any audio visual issues or anything, just sign back in, or refresh your browser, or just pop in and out if you're on your phone. Usually that helps because there are those kinds of issues every once in a while, kind of usually quick fix. I will be presenting for most of the session. It'll be an hour, so we'll be done within the hour, whatever hour that is for you. So if you have any questions that people in the chat can kind of answer, that's an awesome way to kind of connect with them too. So I'll come back to the chat at very specific times, and you guys can share out with that as well. If you have any in-depth, needs or conversations that you want to have, groupinars can be deep, but really it's a general presentation. And so if there's, when you want to go into deeper things, that's great when you can communicate with your therapist. Hopefully you'll get connected if you're not connected, and that's an awesome way to share something you want to dive a little bit deeper in, then we dive in as a whole community. And then also, Yeah, and so there's no moderator in here, so just keep it all self-care focused like we always do and help each other out. And I will come back to the chat at different times. So awesome. Okie dokie. So my name is Amanda. A little bit about me. I'm Amanda Smith. I'm a therapist, and I'm in North Carolina, in the United States. A little Southern accent to throw out there for you guys today. I specialize in helping people manage anxiety. So I've done lots of different things in my practice, but what I've kind of grown into in my personal journey in my life, and then also just like with my friends, and then also like with people that I've counseled over the years, really found that I really enjoy learning tools and helping people manage anxiety. And what I want to do is to connect that to this idea of self-care, right? So if self-care is kind of on trend and it's something that we're all trying to do, how can we kind of use that notion that we're all kind of vibing with to actually put things in place to help manage anxiety, right? So we're going to try to interconnect all of those kinds of things, use that trend and that, that avenue, everybody's focusing on that to really, really do some work on ourselves as well. And in that, I practice cognitive behavioral therapy and solution focused therapy. So, cognitive behavioral therapy is pretty much your run of the mill therapy. I mean, I go over this only because I want this to be also kind of a learning experience, a little bit of a teaching component. So I'm not going into all of the bits of cognitive behavioral therapy, but you'll notice throughout any presentation and pretty much any conversation you ever have with me that in the office or outside, that I focus on thoughts, feelings, and actions. Thoughts affect your feelings affect your actions. Okay. And so when we can work to understand that, honor that, and tweak that a little bit, we can move into a more motivated state, right? So if we can feel a little bit better, then we can be a little bit more motivated. That's the concept for this purpose of cognitive behavioral therapy. Then I'm going to be talking or integrating a little bit solution focused therapy, which sounds just like that, solution focused therapy. I had an awesome conversation because for those of you who've been to personality types, I needed more energy in my learning side. I was just really needing that. I didn't even realize how much. So I had a meeting with a student that is in the master's program that I used to be in, and we just talked for hours, honestly, about this solution focused therapy, and I was really jazzed for that. And it got me energized to remember that, we're really working on looking at solutions, and we're looking at working on solutions that work for us and for you, right? So you are the person, you're the only person that you are. That is really important to hone. And I can't be an expert in anybody but myself. And you guys are all experts in yourself. So we're pulling solutions, solution focused therapy, focusing on solutions. We're pulling solutions, but we're pulling them from ourselves. Okay. So we might resonate with something. Somebody might have an idea and you say, oh, that's cool. You can be inspired to try something because somebody said it was helpful, but you are ultimately the one who designs and implements everything in your life that you're going to use to really, fuel yourself. So let's keep going. And I see somebody. So again, if you have any audio technical issues, just refresh or sign back out, sign back in. That usually helps, hopefully. And if you have trouble overall, you can at least, I meant to say this, you can go to my website, selfcare101.net. You only have to register one time. And that's just because it's where I house my slides, and you have access to all of my slides, all of my presentations, and they're also shared in the shared file of the chat. So that's another thing I wanted to throw out there too, so you guys have access to all of that. Okay, so we are going to talk today specifically social self-care. So, we talk about self-care. What is social self-care? This webinar is going to particularly focus on social self-care. What is that? What do we mean by that? And then what are our current social needs? And then how can I use self-care to get those needs met? So, every time I do this presentation, as of lately in the past year, it's had a little pandemic flair. Because that is definitely something that we're all dealing with right now. But I did this presentation before the pandemic too, right? So I think it's important to note that our social life and our social needs, yes, they have been absolutely impacted and influenced from the pandemic and the things we've been going through. But overall, even in a healthy and well place, we still sometimes need to assess those things, right? So social self-care is on a spectrum. I think it's really important to honor that and to talk about that. But of course, the conversations I'm sure will lead into some pandemic related things, especially with some of the recent stuff that's been going on. So that's okay too. So wherever you're at with all of that is kind of where we're going to explore it on that spectrum. So, spoiler alert for my TikTok. My TikTok is all about things that bring you joy. But this is what I do in every Groupinar is I ask you guys to name 3 things that bring you joy. Okay. I do this for lots of different reasons. Okay. And I do this mostly because it gets us in the moment. It starts to get our brain moving in a little different direction, shifting our thoughts. Okay. If you can't do this, that is fine. I wouldn't be asking this question if it wasn't something that's sometimes a little difficult. So no shame. If you can't do it, watch the chat or just notice, start to try to know, hey, if I can't do this, maybe I'm going to try to be a little bit more mindful. Okay. It can be something simple like sunshine, right? Art. So it doesn't have to be a big, big thing. It can be, but it could be my sister. Okay. So let's see what you guys are saying. Cats, going camping, reading, Trashy Bravo shows. Yes. Therapy, writing. Yes. Gala Apple. Ooh, awesome. Sister time, music, kitty, and meditation. Yes. I love that. Eating in a shower, working out, reading, my floppy cat, clean laundry, dogs, my granddaughter, being outside, creating. I love that. I'm a creator. My friends, looking at properties to invest in. Awesome. Music, reading in sunny weather, cars, Lego, Star Wars, and video games. Right now, if you're catching in, we're just talking about the things that bring us joy. 3 things that bring you joy, right? If you have a hard time, that's fine. Just look around. I like that. I bought these coffee cups. Okay, this is actually a really awesome thing. Like I bought this on Amazon because I really like sometimes need a to-go cup of coffee, but like I know I'm gonna leave my like cup of coffee somewhere because I'm just like horrible like that. So I brought a bunch of these. Probably not sustainable. I still try to use my main cup when I can, but this is like amazing, right? Amazing little tiny thing for me. I don't have to worry about leaving my coffee cup anywhere, having it sit in my sink and get all like moldy. It's great. That's what brings me joy today. Coffee, yoga. Today is Loki Day. Oh, yeah. Okay. Cleaning house, burning sage, working out, waking up on a Saturday morning not hungover. Congratulations. My cat, the outdoors coffee. Awesome. Awesome. So you guys can keep talking. You can keep communicating with one another. Sometimes you guys will resonate with each other and it'll kind of have offshoots of conversations. And I love that. That's awesome. That's the way we're going. Okay. That's the way we're going is to start to think in the positive in the moment. What do we have? Let's move from an abundance mindset. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get back to the presentation. So you guys chat amongst yourselves, and I'll be back in just a little bit when you guys can communicate with us again. But you can keep chatting while I'm chatting. It's fine. So I'm going to do a little review of self-care. It's never anything that I can do enough of because it's always important. The gist of all of my Group-Nars, every single one of them, is grounded in the idea that self-care simply means taking care of yourself, right? That's what it means. Self-care, taking care of yourself. It's not necessarily just one specific thing, like a massage or, going to, I don't know, get your nails done or, going out to dinner with friends. It's all of those things. It's a concept. It's a concept, and it's a noun and it's a verb, right? It's a thing that we do. It's a way of being that we take care of ourselves. So if you look at that, it's important for you to notice that because there's so many ways that you take care of yourself outside of the ways that you traditionally think of self-care, right? So you do more for yourself than just getting a massage or having a night out with friends. You do more for yourself. You take care of yourself every single day by just, getting out of bed and choosing what direction your day is going to go, giving yourself grace if you need to rest, and giving yourself energy if you need to be, if you're motivated. Whatever you do is still self-care, and that's important. So that gives you more to lean on. So it becomes really difficult to say, I'm not practicing self-care. It's really, really easy to say, I haven't had a massage in like 2 years. It's not as easy through this lens to say, I haven't practiced self-care in 2 years, because you have, right? So that's where we're going with it. We want to break it apart to look at all of the pieces of self-care and all of the ways that we take care of ourselves. Okay. All right. So when we look at different types of self-care, like today we're talking about social health, you can, I say this a lot, you can put the word health behind anything. Health is just an assessment of that state that we're in whatever thing, right? So emotional health, physical health, social health. You can look at your spiritual health, your financial health, your intellectual health, occupational health, or that meaning like your job, and there's work stress that's specific to work that's not really relevant to other things in our life, right? There's different ways that you can articulate your specific needs. And some people have different needs in different places. And sometimes it's at different times, right? So knowing where we have a need getting an assessment of our health in some of these different ways helps us to know where we need to practice self-care. Okay. I always say that if you're really in a place where you need to look at financial health and you're financially planning, then your self-care might not be very luxurious, right? My self-care this particular month, because I've spent a lot of money on some stuff last month, my self-care this month has been challenging myself to eat the things in my freezer and to, get creative with food and not spend a lot of money. So you want to make sure you're attending to what piece of it, because if all you know of self-care is get a massage, that's not going to really nurture your financial health needs or your intellectual health needs, right? So that's the important part of it. We expand our definition so we can then be more specific in our definition. It applies to every area of our health. All right, so this is important too, our self-care strength. So this is the core of how we're going to get some of this, move into this mindset of self-care. We all have things that we do well, and we all have things that work well for us. We take care of ourselves in so many different ways, and we are so quick to talk about the ways that we don't take care of ourselves. We forget about giving ourselves credit for the ways that we do take care of ourselves. That's just a very common thing that happens all of the time, right? I'm really, really hard on myself for not drinking enough water, but I might not praise myself for, going for a walk every day. So there might be somebody who kills it drinking water, but hasn't been able to get out and go for walks, right? We need to recognize that we all have different pieces and things that we're in, different seasons we're in, and give ourselves credit for the ways we do take care of ourselves, so that when we want to work on those other things, we have kind of a shield of armor of other ways that we do. So we want to build and rely on those things. If they're working, keep doing them and giving yourself credit for it. Reflecting and relying on past experience, that's a huge component of solution-focused therapy. If something has worked in the past, it's a good thing to try when you're looking to try something now, right? Either specifically that or something like that, okay? I called my mom when I was 10 and I was upset. I called my mom when I was 20 and I was upset. I called my mom when I was 30 when I was upset. And I texted my mom all day long in the doctor's office yesterday when I just didn't like being at the doctor's office, right? I did the same thing I did when I was 6 when I didn't have my mom right there with me to talk. So I texted her while I was at the doctor's office. It kind of works, right? So whatever works for you, works for you. Being able to kind of say, oh, okay, maybe that would work again. It can. It doesn't always, but it can. It's good to lean on that instead of trying to figure something else out. Focus on what works best for you. And self-care is not about pressuring ourselves to be someone else. It's not. It's about being ourselves, okay? And it's about being real with yourself. Being real with yourself is going to help you make realistic and enjoyable goals, okay? So making sure that what you're trying to do for self-care matches with your life, matches with your plans, all those kinds of things, okay? So the idea is to kind of work smarter, not harder. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're not trying to make ourselves do something that takes extra time or money or stress. We're trying to figure out the things that have worked for us before and learn how to integrate them into the experiences that we might need support with now, right? So what are your self-care strengths and how are you already taking care of yourself? Thank you for the words about my mom. That's how, talking to people in general, not just my mom, that is sort of my thing. It helps me. It's fun and I know and I like to do it, but sometimes it's good for me to recognize that that's self-care. When I need something, that's what I do, right? Some people need to really sit and not talk to anybody, right? Just got a new haircut. Awesome. Very cool. Awesome. Going to the loo. That's the ultimate, man. Sometimes, when you're not going to the loo, I love that. When you feel like you need to, then that's totally a moment for you to get some self-care right there, right? I don't know why we do that. We get busy and we don't take ourselves in priority. Walking, hiking, giving myself downtime, painting in alone time, right? Skincare, drinking water, working out, and the people who's like alone time, right? So if I need to be if I need people around me and somebody else needs alone time, there's no right or wrong. That's the whole point of it, and that's why this is so personalized, is because for me, my self-care solution might be to call somebody or go somewhere, get out, and somebody else's might be to kind of like go inside and not talk to anybody, and that's okay, right? Some people like to do things physical as a physical outlet, and some people like to sit down and relax and watch television or color. Some people love to journal. Some people don't vibe with journaling. I mean, it's all different, right? It's all so different. And whatever works for you is what works for you. Yes, awesome. So, this is a good way of thinking through this, right? Yeah. See, playing on the Switch for a bit to relax. Give yourself credit for things that you do that help you wind down and relax, right? That's what I want you to do. Instead of like looking for all the things you don't do, taking care of yourself, find the things you do and give yourself credit for them, because we're always going to have things we need to work on and that we want to do more of. But, it's awesome if you go to the farmers market and talking to the farmers. Like when you do that, also tell yourself, this was good for me. This was a good self-care for me. I didn't just do it to do it. I did it to take care of myself. Right? All right, awesome. So telling myself this is self-care. I love that. It works. It works. That is cognitive behavioral therapy. Inserting these thoughts into a sea of ingrained thoughts where since we were little, for whatever reason, societal or whatever, I don't know all the reasons, we have really focused on negatives and everything that's wrong with us, and we built our narrative. When we can integrate a thought that says I'm taking care of myself, heck yes, that's great. It helps you, it adds to your bank of thoughts, and it will change your feelings and your actions. So that's important. Awesome. So social self-care. All right, so specifically social self-care. This is looking at our social needs. Okay, so if you were here before the past couple weeks, we talked about our physical needs and our emotional needs. If you weren't, that's fine, you'll catch up. But basically, we're looking at all the different kinds of things that all of our different types of needs. Okay, and a lot of times our social needs are when we are feeling socially stressed or fatigued. And really into this idea of looking at tired and fatigue. It can be different in different contexts, right? So I can be physically tired after I run a race, but emotionally feel really good and feel really energized, right? Two different types of tired. I can be as a therapist, when I come home from work, I love people. It's so awesome for me. I love it. But I can get myself to be socially tired when I'm going to go visit my friends and stuff after work, when I haven't done anything all day, right? Like because I'm get socially maxed or something like that, right? So it's tired is not just one state, it's a lot of different states. And so I really think that when we need self-care, it's when we're feeling that stress and fatigue relevant to that situation. So social stress fatigue, physical stress fatigue, emotional stress fatigue, they also overlap. Common question is, what if I feel all of them? They do. Most of the time they overlap. But it's really helpful if you can isolate it, and instead of just saying I'm tired, what kind of tired are you, right? Because if it's physical, then you might need a nap. If it's social, you might need a break, right? And if it's emotional, you might need a friend. I don't know. It's all different. So that's kind of, the way I look at that. So self-care is usually an activity or a product. Okay. So typically when we think of self-care, most everything, not everything, because there's never a definitive, but most things are either an activity or product, right? So it's either, I'm going to, smell some lavender essential oils, which might be a product, or I'm going to call my mom, which might be an action, right? So it's usually an activity or it's something we do, and it's meant to help relieve that stress and fatigue. And so once we identify those social needs and the areas that if we're feeling a little fatigued or stressed, then we're going to look to see what can we do to take care of them. Okay. So that's sort of the notion of looking at social needs specifically. So social self-care, just taking care of your social needs, whatever that means for you. So our social needs are based on our personal experiences, okay, and our capacity. I love the word capacity. Our capacity at the current moment, okay. So we talk a lot about just that general concept of introvert extrovert because it's something that I think a lot of people understand, and a lot of people kind of have that idea of what an introvert is, what an extrovert is. Introvert is, someone who may prefer to have a little bit less socialization. Extrovert might be a person who's energized by more people. We can always kind of say generally this is where I'm at, right? Well, the thing is that, and I've learned this in multiple classes in my graduate program, is that it's on a spectrum, no matter what. Even the most introverted person still has a need for some social interaction. And even the most extroverted person still has a little need for some solitude and time away. Okay. So you can have your baseline need. You can know that generally, hey, this is how I am. But also in the current moment, sometimes an introvert might want to go out and do something or need to get out and do something. And someone who's an extrovert like me might need a nap, right? So knowing yourself generally, and then also knowing yourself specific to right now. Okay. And then we get our social needs met by bringing that awareness, right, to our desire and our need for socialization and or isolation. So when we're talking about social self-care, I want you to think about the word social in terms of people and also in terms of not people, right? So this happens a lot in elementary school. Social skills becomes how do you build your interactions with more people. But socialization is really on a spectrum, and sometimes socially you need to isolate, and sometimes socially you need to broaden that. So I do not want to come in here and make everybody feel like there's a pressure that my social self-care means I need more people. Sometimes social self-care means I need less people. Generally, my social self-care means that because I'm such a high extrovert. Okay. So that's just the way I want to flip that, because social has got this, there's this idea that social means I need to do more with people. Social means that you need to assess where you're at with that. Do you need people? Do you not need people? Right? So nothing wrong with your social self-care being that you need to isolate. 90% of the time, if I need social self-care, it's isolation. So most of the time, if I need social self-care, it's I need to sit down and watch Gossip Girl, right? Other people, it might be, oh, my social self-care need is I need to get up and go somewhere and do something. That's what's so personalized, okay? That's why it's hard for anybody to really tell you exactly what you need, because everybody's needs are so different. So, how has your social life been lately? And what are you kind of feeling like, what your social needs are, right? Like, do you have enough socialization in your life? Do you need to tone it down? Do you need to build it up? Like, how's it been lately? Right? We often think of social self-care as needing to be and see with other people, but sometimes we need to be alone. Right. Right. Exactly. It's your social needs. Do you need more? Do you need less? Right? Yeah. Easing into it slowly. Need to build up. Okay, busy. And I'm ready for alone time. Right. Just got out of a third lockdown. Man, yeah, the pandemic has definitely made this so weird. And especially I know during the beginning of the pandemic, I was doing a couple of pandemic presentations, and I kind of, because I work from home during the pandemic and that kind of thing, that's what my job kind of put me in that position. I was isolated. And so I started doing these presentations and saying we need more outlets and all of that. And then a bunch of nurses came into my group and they were like, I need some sleep. And I was like, wow, right? Like, whoa, like mind blown. Everybody needs different things at different times. And that was also for me very much like, oh, we don't put that pandemic in a box, because people are going through it. We're all going through the same thing, but in lots of different ways. So just recognizing that my need is not necessarily your need, and your need is not necessarily somebody else's need, right? It just depends on where you're at and who you are. So there's no real way I can say, hey, everybody, you came here, social needs, everybody go out and get pizza with a friend tonight. Woohoo. Some of you might not need to do that, right? So that's important. Feel as I need to be with people, but my batteries have been run out a lot quicker. Yes, yes. And and sometimes like for me, there like sometimes I need to go like to like somewhere and have a conversation with people, like I did with the person that is a student in the program I was in. And sometimes I need to like just go to Target and not talk to anybody. Right? Like sometimes I need interaction, and sometimes I need like people, but not any kind of connection. It's all different, right? Yeah, I do that a lot, because I'm like, I got something else. I just need to be around people, but I don't need to engage with people, right? Two different kinds. So when you look at what do you need for socialization, the answer is not always just people, because it can be different types of situations. People without people, right? Yeah, right. Okay. So moving into that, people watching, absolutely, that's a social act. Okay. So what are my social needs? So when you look at this, your social needs, and this is just a like kind of, I put this list together. There's different things. These are just some ideas of things that we generally as humans need. Generally, there's some need for friendship, validation, love, support, reassurance, connection, conversation, teamwork, personal space, right? Those are two different things. They're in the same category. I need teamwork. I also need personal space, comfort, intimacy. So I might need isolation, and then I might need intimacy, right? And those are two different things. Intellectual stimulation, normalization, diverse perspectives, isolation, time alone, and rest. Okay. So these are just some ideas of different kinds of social needs that we all have at time to time. Normalization, thank you for asking that. It's kind of a CBT thing that I forget to kind of go over sometimes. Normalization is, this is what we're doing in the chat. Normalization is me saying, oh, I've experienced anxiety, and you being like, oh my gosh, really? Me too. That's normalization. Normalization is, I went through this. I went through a breakup. Oh, you did? Yeah, I did too. Oh, okay. So that is so important, right? It's so important, because in a world where people are so different, it really helps to find people who have similar experiences, right? So when a lot of people come in, they'll say, in therapy, somebody will say, I'm the weirdest person in the world. I'm the craziest person in the world because I think this, and that. When I can validate that and understand that that's difficult, but also say that, I've counseled other people who've experienced that, it's like, right? So when you connect with people, you get this sense that like I'm not alone, and what I'm experiencing isn't weird or crazy, and there's some connection to other people that experience this. So that's normalization, and it's very important with validation, because you don't want to over normalize. You want to acknowledge people's like unique experiences, but also make sure they understand that they're not alone experiencing unique experiences. So, and you find that just when you're communicating with people. So some common barriers that we have to getting our needs met. Okay, so here's some barriers that we might have to getting these needs met. It would be limited access to social avenues, right? Pandemic was very that was right there in front of us. Before the pandemic, it was harder because if you're near areas that have a lot of social avenues, then it's one thing. But if you're not in an area like that, so limited access definitely shapes our ability to get those needs met. Time constraints, other responsibilities. So, sometimes like if I have to sit down and work on a spreadsheet in my house by myself and I need socialization, I got to figure out how to balance that, because I've got to be responsible and, make sure I can balance those things. The inability to control others. Social needs are very much dependent on other people in some ways, and we can't control other people. So, I really can't control. I can try to call my mom. She'll probably answer. If she doesn't, I can't blame that for, okay, well, then my needs aren't going to get met. I have to know where I can get my needs met, and I have to think about the fact that sometimes those might not be accessible. Okay. Peer pressure and shame, the peer pressure to go out more, the peer pressure to stay in more, the peer pressure to lots of different things, right? Do stay out more, do different things, eat different things, all those kinds of things, right? And then the shame for doing that or not doing that, right? And then that societal pressures that for social normalcy, okay? While normalization is a really good tool to use to say, hey, I've been through something and so have I, normalcy as a standard can be a little bit like pressure, put a little pressure on you, right? To say that, okay, to be socially normal, you need to have X amount of friends and X amount of this and X amount of that. That really can get in the way of make you feel bad about yourself or make you feel shamed. So sometimes normalcy is good to kind of give you a gauge of what's going on around you, but to use it as a way to like kind of put yourself into a pressured situation, it can go the other way. So you just have to think about that kind of thing, right? Okay. So in that, what are your current social needs? Okay. So you kind of were looking at where you're at socially, what's going on, what are some of your social needs? And if you want, I can go back to the slide as a reference, but you don't have to say these things. It can be anything, right? You can know that. But, maybe using this list as a consult or just adding things. What are your needs? Okay. Looking at what's got going on. What are your current needs? Friendships, to see more people in person again safely, spending time with friends, being understood, get your second vaccine so that you can get out. Yes. Making new friends. Yes, I'm currently celibate, but I do want intimacy. That's important. That you can have two feelings at the same time, and that's important to recognize. And we all have different things that we kind of have those like contradictory pieces to. Time alone and friendship validation, personal space, validation and support. Making new friends, reassurance, love, patience, understanding, and connection. Right. So sometimes you might look at this list and say all of it, and that's fine. That's fine. But if you can pinpoint different things, it gives you kind of it gives you something to work on specifically. Okay. Rest. Awesome. Physical touch, the number one love language. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So just thinking about that. Okay. Now we're going to look at self-care. Okay. So how can I get my social needs met? So this is going to be the way that you look at how you can get those needs met with self-care. Okay. Asking yourself questions, doing this little self-assessment. You can do it right now in your head. You can do it right now in the chat. You can go back and look at the slides later and reflect on this deeper. You can do this just one time, or you can do this every day. It really just depends on what's helpful for you. But asking yourself these questions: do I need to be around people right now? Yes or no? Okay. Would it help to talk about it with someone? Yes or no? Okay. Would I rather be around a lot of people or just one person, right? Would I rather go walk around Target, or would I rather go sit with my bestie, right? And then would it be helpful for me to go out in public, or do I need to stay at home? So this is a thing that you can use, especially if you're in like a little bit of a panic. Honestly, these are really good questions to ask yourself when you're in a panic or when you're in a state of like confusion or just feeling overwhelmed. This is a good thing to ask yourself. And generally your answers are going to be the same, but like honestly, they might not be, because we're in different situations at different times. So asking yourself these questions and figuring that out. Right? Right. So again, you can come back and reflect on that. But the general idea is to know that you know what you need. You just need to take some time to ask yourself some of those questions. Okay. And then we can set boundaries. Okay. Boundaries are things that we set for ourselves. We do not set them for other people. Right. So if I set a boundary, it's so that I can get my needs met. I may request something of someone else, but it's not for them to do something. It's for me to have a need met. Okay. So when you set boundaries, you're defining your difficult relationships on your own terms. Okay. So if you decide that, I have some friends that they're, people I won't talk to about certain things because they're just not going to, we don't vibe in that area. So I might set boundaries with that, right? I have certain friends that I might, want to go out and spend a lot of time casually with. And then I have friends that I'd want to go and have lunch with and, have more conversations with. And defining your difficult relationships or just your regular relationships, you define your relationships and what they mean to you and what they're going to offer to you. Establishing availability expectations and communicating that, right? That boundary as self-care. For me to be able to say, I can do this, or I can, or I can't do that is very much an act of self-care, right? And it's something that, you can help others understand, but it's really meant to be done for yourself. Allowing yourself to stop doing things you don't want to do. Okay. Now, I don't mean this in terms of like, do your dishes, shower, make your bed, whatever, all those things, right? It's not like, okay, don't do the basic life stuff. But if you're looking at like, if someone says, hey, do you want to join this team or book club and you don't like reading, then don't join the book club, right? Recognize the things that are just not good for you and don't do those things, right? In terms of social self-care, if it's something you have the choice in, like, I don't want to make this sound like I'm not going to go and do those things that are otherwise healthy for me. It's self-care and healthy for me to do my dishes and do my chores. But if I have the choice of doing something, if someone says, hey, do you want to go and do this thing, and I don't want to, right, if you don't like reading, don't join the book club. If you don't like playing volleyball, don't join the volleyball team, right? I mean, so being able to, and you'll know when that goes in and out, like, right, you'll know when you kind of like, you'll push in different places. Sometimes you go in a book club even if you don't like reading, and there's reasons. But generally, if you have an option, don't do the things you don't want to do and do the things that you do. Right? It's really powerful. Prioritizing your social obligations and committing to and reflecting on your self-care needs, right? So when you do these things, they are for you, okay? And when you set these boundaries, when you tell yourself, okay, Amanda, it is important for me to go and spend time with this person because it's going to nurture our friendship, so I'm going to put work off if I can, or whatever, just within the realm of like things that you can do. It's important for you to do that little by little wherever you can, and that'll help you get some of your social needs met as well. So how are you going to attend to your social needs? Okay, so looking at that and some of your social needs, what are you going to do? Like, is there anything that you kind of feel like, oh, specifically, tangibly, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to work towards this? Is there anything you can do, small or big? Right? Attending this seminar today. Yes, that's awesome. Everybody in here, this is a social event. So yeah, awesome. Saying no to 50 people work event, right? Going out maybe, cooking nutritious food, listening to my needs, work around other people if possible at a park or coffee shop. Yeah, exactly. Signed up for pottery class. Great. And this doesn't have to be all or nothing, right? It doesn't have to be, I'm going to, I never go anywhere, so I'm going to start going out to all of the bars and restaurants and I'm going to party and blah, blah, blah. Don't make yourself a goal that's like really, really outside of your reach or that doesn't make sense. But if you feel like maybe I'll go to a coffee shop or maybe I'll go, walk around my neighborhood, this can be small things. Really, generally, I'm going to say the answer to this should be a small task. But if you're motivated, go for it, right? If you've got a big goal that comes out of this, awesome. But generally, you want to make sure this question is something that you can do that's attainable. Okay? Right. Right. Everything all at once is, and again, I don't want to isolate the very, very few times that can be actually really helpful, because in general, that's not going to be, but there's lots of people in here. So sometimes the all or none approach is what you need. But generally speaking, the all or none approach is going to be overwhelming, right? It's going to be overwhelming to kind of like try to do something that's that big and that bold. So you'll know yourself if you need to, but if you don't need that, then just doing it small, right? Just doing small, because you don't want to overwhelm yourself, because then it'll feel like too much, and then it won't become self-care, and it'll make you more stressed. You don't want to do that either, right? Yes. Started to sit outside in the garden. Yeah, sometimes I'll sit out on my balcony. Like I might not, want to go to the pool on like the, 4th of July. We have a beautiful pool at my apartment that I live at. And it's like, I want to get outside, but I don't want to necessarily be around all those people. So like, how can I do that? Maybe I could go walk over there or be there for just a little while, trying to figure out I don't have to sit inside if I don't go to the pool. It doesn't have to be either or. I don't have to not do anything if I'm not doing one thing. Yeah. Yeah. Sign up with a neighbor. Sit down and assess what my needs are. Good. How do you know when self-care is a quick fix and not good for you in the long run? So my answer to this is that if you really start delving into this, and if you really start thinking through a lens of self-care, then everything that you do, you'll start to do as acts of self-care, and you'll know. Okay. I'll know when sitting down and watching TV is not something that is sustainable. I'll just know that, because, and but I will also know when it's something that it's okay to be a quick fix, because we need quick fixes. Sometimes we need quick fixes. If you're in a panic attack, you need a quick fix, right? So recognizing that, asking yourself, what do I need right now? If you ask yourself what you need right now, and then ask yourself, am I doing that? Yes or no, right? If you are doing it, keep doing it. If you're not, then that's some time to maybe like try something different, right? So something like playing video games is on a spectrum of something that's very helpful to something that can definitely get in the way of like, attending to other people or being social, or all these that can get in the way of functioning. And it can also help you with functioning. You are responsible to figure out where that is, right? And that you can do by saying, hey, is this self-care right now? Yes or no? Okay. Because literally sometimes playing video games is self-care, and sometimes it's not the most helpful thing for you to be doing in the long term or in the moment. Like that's the place where we have to kind of check ourselves. Sometimes going out and spending money on ourselves is an act of self-care, and sometimes it's something that's not going to really be helpful for us at that particular moment in the long run or whatever, right? So you have to just check yourself on that. Yeah. Self-care can be a distraction. Absolutely. Distractions are not bad. They are not bad at all. If you're having a panic attack, please distract yourself. If you're thinking about something that doesn't make any kind of sense and is not worth your time, then think about something else that's not worth your time that makes you feel better, right? Distractions are not bad. Positive distractions are not bad. Avoidance can get in that way of bad, or like not bad. I don't want to say good or bad. I don't like those terms, but it's okay to do a quick fix distraction to help you get kind of back and grounded in the moment. That's okay. That doesn't mean that you're avoiding something. That means that you're taking good care of yourself. But you guys can explore this further with your therapists and different conversations, because this opens up opportunities for you to explore this and, and see how that goes. And everybody has different, I love groupinars because we can, kind of communicate on so many different levels with so many different people, but everybody might not vibe with that at different times, given your personal, situation and experiences. So, if you have questions about that, that's definitely something to kind of process through on your own, and through your own instinct and intuition, and trust yourself on that. All right. So we're coming around to the end of the hour. So how to make self-care a lifestyle. So the big thing is, I want you to be mindful of how you already take care of yourself. Like we Like we looked at, it's interesting that something isn't a distraction if you decide to focus on it. That's great. That's a great point. It's a very great point. I need to marinate on that for a little bit because it's a very great point. Awesome. Being mindful of how you already take care of yourself, looking for tiny ways to integrate your self-care in your life, right? Looking for those teeny tiny ways, right? The teeny tiny things, setting a self-care intention for every day. And when you do that, meaning I'm gonna be mindful of my self-care needs every single day. Okay. Creating self-care moments and embracing self-care moments. We will actually be talking about self-care moments specifically in the next session of the series. So a moment, that's just it, being in the moment, right? The moments that you experience self-care. So we'll get more in that a little bit more. And then of course, saying it out loud, this is self-care. So when you notice you're doing something that is good for you and that feels good and that nourishes you and your soul, this is self-care. Give yourself credit. Put that thought in the middle of your brain around all the other thoughts that are in there that we don't like, right? Put the good things in. Intentionally feeding narrative into your head is really, really important from a cognitive behavioral perspective. Thoughts, feelings, and actions, right? Feed yourself those positive narratives and tell yourself that you're taking care of yourself. Yes, this group in art is self-care. Find the things that bring you joy, right? This is something you can do. It will help you in a panic. Honestly, find those things that bring you joy, because actually in a panic, it'll help you because it actually makes you talk about distraction or focus is better. It makes you think about things around you, which gives yourself a break from that thought that's eating you up. So find those things that bring you joy anywhere. You can find something that brings your joy anywhere. A hair tie, so that you can, I have a hair tie on my wrist so I can put my hair up so I'm not hot. Okay, great. That brings me joy. I wouldn't think of that normally. You can find things that bring you joy in any situation. Okay. And remember that you are the expert in yourself and your healing. So if this stuff kind of is starting to make sense, make that sense within you, right? You lean on yourself to find the answers and build these solutions. So how are you guys going to practice self-care this week? We kind of just talked about that, but that's closing out question to kind of get everybody closing out. So we're going to go ahead and if you want to share more things that you're going to do, that's great. And I'm going to go ahead and get ready to sign off. You guys are closing out, and we're going to talk about the upcoming. So if you've been here routinely, we are now on the 6th presentation, social self-care. We'll talk about embracing the self-care moment next week, and then look at some resources the next week, and then it'll cycle back around. So if you've been here the whole time, awesome. If this is your first one, it's kind of cool because we'll be cycling back through. So it just keeps on moving and keeps on cycling. So awesome. Give myself a break. I'm doing the best I can, and that's enough. I love it. Love it. All right. Well, I'm going to head out, and I hope that you guys do some good things to take care of yourself this week. Practice good social self-care, whatever that means for you. If that means that you just need to, curl up in a ball and take a nap, that's great. If that means that you need to go out and find a new hobby or take a class, that's great too. Whatever you guys need to do, do that, and hopefully practice some of those self-care, and then feel some of the benefits of it. So awesome. So I will see you guys at the same time next week. Okay. And you can always look at my website, selfcare101.net. You only have to register one time. You get access to all the slides and stuff for free. And then also check out BetterHelp's TikTok, not just because I'm on there, but because some other super awesome people are on there too. And just, continue to use all the resources that BetterHelp connects you with. I love that. That's one of my favorite things about the companies, that they give you awesome opportunities, resources. Check out some other groupinars and that kind of thing too. And I will check in with you guys next week. All right. Have a great week, guys. Bye.